your screens or slides are not yet there.
Yeah, they're opening up.
So it's getting uploaded.
Yeah. Are they visible now, Dr. Hina?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is visible. It is clearly visible.
Okay. I mean, you are recording for your personal purpose.
No, no, sir. It's the university. We have logged in from the university website, sir, and that has been recorded there.
Okay, right.
It will be uploaded on a portal, sir.
All the slides will be uploaded on the portal.
So your entire lecture will be uploaded.
Okay, fine, fine, fine. Uh, See, spirometry, I know every one of you are knowing about this topic, spirometry. It is the gold standard for COPD diagnosis. Whenever we want to know whether the patient is suffering from any COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, the best and cheapest way, any investigation will call it as best when the rate or the amount to that the investigation takes place cost you less when compared to the other investigations. So this is the cheapest and the best way to diagnose COPD. That's why we take spirometry. It is underuse leads to you if you are not using properly the spirometry. That means if you are not aware of the findings, or if you are not aware of the apparatus, then you may go into inaccurate COPD diagnosis. As any other investigation, it happens to. Widespread uptake has been limited by concerns over technical performance of the operators, difficulty with interpretation of results, lack of approval from the local training courses, and lack of evidence showing clear benefit when spirometry has been becoming the prior into the management. These are the things. Now, what is a spirometry? Spirometry is a method of assessing lung function by measuring the total volume of air the patient can expel, that is, blow out from the lungs after a maximal inhalation. I know you might have given to your patients incentive spirometry, where three balls will be present with a mouthpiece. We ask the patient to suck in the air so that the balls rise. Here in investigative spirometry, it is opposite. We will ask the patient to take a deep breath and blow out, expel the air from the lungs to measure the spirometry. Now, why to perform spirometry? Measure airflow obstruction to help make a definitive diagnosis of COPD, confirm presence of airway obstruction, assess severity of airflow obstruction in COPDs, detect airflow obstruction in smokers who may have few or no symptoms of COPD, monitor disease progression in COPD, assess one aspect of response to therapy, assess prognosis, that is FEV1 in COPDs. FEV1 is the forced expiratory volume in 1 second. Then additional uses can be, you can make a diagnosis and assess severity in a range of other respiratory conditions. You can distinguish between obstruction and restriction as cause of breathlessness. I mean, you have restrictive pulmonary diseases as well as obstructive pulmonary diseases. So this will be a gold standard spirometry to distinguish whether the patient is having obstruction or restriction. It screens the workforces in occupational environments. People who are working in coal mines, asbestos, then cotton industries. So you can screen the workers' lung capacities, and you can find out whether the working environment is risk for developing occupational related pulmonary diseases, or they are working in the safe environment, or the environment is good enough, yeah, safe enough for the workers to work. Otherwise, you have to inform to the management to maintain certain standards so that they don't get suffered from the occupational lung diseases. It is also assess fitness to dive. See, in sports, there is so many swimming activities, diving activities are present. So before going, if you want anyone to go into that such type of diving activities, before that also spirometry will help you whether the client or the subject is fit enough to go for diving. Pre-employment screening for certain professions, like suppose you want to become an astronaut, or you want to work in places where high range, high altered terrains you have to work, or extreme in the polar regions you have to work. So in such places where you require to assess the respiratory function. For example, army who are working at the extreme high altitudes, further pre-employment screening will be done. In that also we use the spirometry. Now types of spirometers, there are so many varieties of spirometers available. One is bellows spirometers which measure volume and mainly in lung function units. Then we have electron desktop spirometers. It measures flow and volume both in real time display. And in our departments, physiotherapy departments also we are using where master degree program is there, small handheld spirometers. This is the oldest method, bellows spirometer. This is how it is used to look. This is the mouthpiece through which the patient will be blowing out the air. This is the functional electrical spirometer, an advanced model. This is handheld spirometer. The volume measuring spirometer, as I told you. Flow measuring spirometer. This is how it looks. A computer recording will be coming. Desktop electronic spirometers, where the reading will be instantly delivered. Handheld spirometer, as I told you, these type of handheld different varieties, they are available in your cardiopulmonary department of your colleges where master degree program has been started. Now standard spirometric indices, what we exactly find out here. First one, FEV1, this is the forced expiratory volume in 1 second. That is the volume of air expired in the first second of the blow. Then FVC, that is forced vital capacity, the total volume of air that can be forcefully exhaled in one breath. FEV1 by FEVC ratio, it is the fraction of air exhaled in the first second relative to the total volume exhaled. Vital capacity, a volume of a full breath exhaled in the patient's own time and it is not forced, often slightly greater than the FEC, particularly in COPD conditions. FEV6, forced expiratory volume in 6 seconds, often approximates the FEC, easier to perform in older and COPD patients, but role in COPD diagnosis remains under investigation. Basing on FEV6, we cannot get acclaimed with diagnosis of COPD. Clinically also we have to undergo certain other investigations to get a confirmed diagnosis of COPD based if you are basing on FEV6. MEFR, mid expiratory flow rates, derived from the mid portion of the flow volume curve, but it is not useful in the COPD diagnosis. This is how you get a wave after performing the spirometry. This you might have studied in your physiology. Again, in PTCTS, you might have studied about this. Now, spirogram. The previously what you have seen is called spirogram. So we have four types of spirograms that we can come across. One is a normal spirogram. One is obstructive spirogram. One is restrictive spirogram. The other one is the mixed obstructive and restrictive spirogram. So this is the spirogram. Is my arrow visible, Dr. Hina?
Yes, sir.
Now, spirometry predicted normal values. These normal values can be affected. See, there are some confronted variables, as you know. So there are certain confronted variables even for the spirometry. These values can be affected by age, height, sex, and ethnic origin. So when you are taking any spirometry as one of your investigation, these confounded variables should be taken care of, because your spirometry recordings will be affected by age. Suppose if you are doing a research where the spirogram is one of your primary outcomes, then it can be affected by confounded variables like age, height, sex, and ethnic origin. So this you should be taken care of. FEV1 percentage. See, dilator spirometry, normal post bronchodilator, that means after giving bronchodilator, predicted should be more than or equal to 80%. FVC more than or equal to 80%. FEV1 by FVC, the ratio should be 0.7 to 0.8 depending on the age. This is the normal trace of the FEV1 and FEV2. This is the volume of liters. This is the time in seconds. I think you understood by the graph. See, this is the normal, obstructive. This is how it comes. Wait. Yeah, now you can see. This is the normal curve. See here, as the after some time for 6 seconds, it becomes stable. The curve becomes stable. If FE1 is 4 liters, FVC, vital capacity, will be the 5 liters, the maximum one. And the ratio will be 4 by 5, that is 0.8. Hope you are understanding this. Yes. Now let's see how the obstructive disease gram will look like. This is the normal, where 5 liters at the 6th second, FEV6. In obstructive, it becomes low up to 3. FEV1 will be only 1.8 liter. FVC will be 3.2 liters. The ratio will be 0.56 when compared to the ratio of normal 0.8. COPD is confirmed by the post bronchodilator therapy, FEV1 by FVC. If it is less than 0.7, then only we say COPD. I will tell you what is post bronchodilator spirometry. It is nothing but giving a bronchodilator therapy either by nebulization or orally, and then after having some time gap, latency, and then finding out the performing the spirometry is called post bronchodilator spirometry. So usually post bronchodilator FEV1 VVC measured 15 minutes after giving 400 mg of salbutamol or equivalent. salbutamol, albuterol, anything you can give, whatever the bronchodilators available. Now, bronchodilators also, there are different varieties. Please understand. There are sustained release bronchodilator, extended release bronchodilator. So the time duration, this is for normal oral bronchodilator, it is 15 minutes. If you are using an extended release bronchodilator, then again these timings will get different. Sustained release bronchodilators, single dose bronchodilator will be there. So all these things, the timings will be different. Then there is another testing spirometry, that is bronchodilator reversibility testing. It provides the best achievable FEV1 and FVC, helps to differentiate COPD from bronchial asthma. Bronchodilator reversibility testing will help you to diagnose the COPD from asthma. It must be interpreted with clinical history also. You should not come to a conclusion only basing on spirometry, but this will help you out to diagnose the COPD from the bronchial asthma. It can be done on first visit if no diagnosis has been made. Best done as planned procedure. Pre and post bronchodilator test require a minimum of 15 minutes. Pre and post. That means before giving drug, we will do a spirogram. Then we will give the drug, and then afterwards we will again take the spirogram. So the pre and post should be between a minimum of 15 minutes duration. Post bronchodilator only saves time but does not help confirm if asthma is present. Short acting bronchodilators, as I told you before, see, there are different varieties of bronchodilators. If you are taking short acting bronchodilators, then withheld for at least 4 hours prior to the test. You have to ask the patient not to take short acting bronchodilators up to 4 hours before the test. It provides the best achievable FEV1 and FVC. COPD is confirmed by bronchodilator FEV1 by FVC if it is less than 0.7, because we already seen the normal graph, FEV1 by FVC is 0.7. Then post bronchodilator FEV1 by FVC measured 15 minutes after 400 mg salbutamol or equivalent. See, here we can see the different doses. If you are giving 200 to 400 mg via large volume spacer, 15 minutes time, 500 mg also 15. If it is 160 mg via spacer, then 45 minutes. Hypertropium. Now, bronchodilator reversibility testing, the what I have told is again here it is what you call exemplified. Preparation, test should be performed when patients are clinically stable. Please understand, when you are doing this spirogram test, reverse bronchodilator reversibility test, the patient should be stable. That means he should not have any attack, or he must be free from respiratory infection. He should not have any respiratory infection. He should not be in the state of asthmatic attack. Patient should not have taken or inhaled short-acting bronchodilators in the previous 6 hours. Long-acting bronchial dilators in last 12 hours and sustained release theophylline in the previous 24 hours. Salbutamol, if you are taking short actings before 6 hours, he should not take. You should advise the patient. Long acting bronchodilator 12 hours. Sustained release like theophylline at least for 24 hours, patient should not take. Then FEV1 must be measured before a bronchodilator is given. Then after bronchodilator is given, we will measure again. Possible dosage protocols are 400 mg beta-2 agonist up to 160 μg anticholinergic or the two combined. FEV1 should be measured again for 10 to 15 minutes after a short-acting bronchodilator is given. 30 to 45 minutes after the combination. results, an increase in FEV1 that is both greater than 200 ml and 12% above the pre-bronchodilator FEV1 is considered significant. It is usually helpful to report the absolute change as well as percentage of change from the baseline to set the improvement in the clinical context. So this test will also tell you about the prognosis. Now, spirometry in restrictive diseases, FEV1 will be normally or mildly reduced, FVC less than 80% predicted, FEV1 by FEV1 more than 0.7. In COPD, we have seen it is less than 0.7. Here in restricted pulmonary diseases, FEV1 FVC ratio will be more than 0.7. Mixed obstructive and restrictive, this is how the graph looks like. FEV1 by FVC will be 0.30. Flow volume curve, standard on most desktop spirometers, adds more information than volume time curve. This is volume and time curve. How much amount of air in liters patient is taking and in how much of seconds time. This is now what we are going to see is flow volume curve. This is the total lung capacity, functional vital capacity and residual volume. In obstructive diseases, this is how the graph shows. This is the severe obstructive and this is restrictive. This is how abnormal patterns look like. Slow rise, reduced volume expired, prolonged time to full expiration. This is fast rise to plateau at reduced maximal volume. This is slow rise to reduced maximum volume. Measure static lung volumes and full PFTs to confirm. Now, how do you perform spirometry? Training is essential for operators to learn correct performance and interpretation of results. Training for component performance of spirometry requires minimum of 3 hours. Acquiring good spirometry performance and interpretation skills requires requires practice, evaluation and review. Spirometry performance, who, when and where should be adapted to local needs and resources. Training for spirometry should be evaluated. Independent of the type of spirometer, obtain predictor value. Choose values for best to represent the tested population. Now, before performing spirometry, explain the purpose of the test and demonstrate the procedure once to the patient. Record the patient age, height and gender and enter on the spirometer. Note when bronchodilator was last used. Have the patient sitting comfortably. Loosen any tight clothing. Empty the bladder beforehand if needed. Now ask the patient to breathe in until the lungs are full. Hold the breath and seal the lips tightly around a clean mouthpiece. Now blast the air out as forcefully as fast as possible. Provide lots of encouragement. You have to tell push the air, push the air. It should be like blowing. Suppose if a patient comes, he don't understand if he's from a rural background. You tell a huge fire is there and you want to blow off it. So how fast you will blow off in a single time, you have to blow off. Like that you have to explain, because otherwise patient will not understand how to forcefully exhale. Continue blowing until the lungs feel empty. Now watch the patient during the blow to assure the lips are sealed around the mouthpiece. Check to determine if an adequate trace has been achieved. Repeat the procedure at least twice more until ideally three readings within 100 milliliter or 5% of each other are obtained. And this is how the graphs comes. Three, if you are taking 3 times. Possible side effects: patient feels lightheadedness, um, headache, getting redness in the face, sometimes, very rarely fainting, vasovagal attack, transient urinary incontinence. Most common cause of inconsistent readings is poor patient technique, suboptimal inspiration. Suppose you don't get readings correctly, if your patient is in the suboptimal inspiration, submaximal expiratory effort, delay in the forced expiration, shortened expiratory time, air leak around the mouthpiece. Subjects must be observed and encouraged throughout the procedure. Common problems: inadequate or incomplete blow, lack of blast effort during exhalation, slow start to maximal effort, lips not sealed around mouthpiece, coughing during the blow, extra breath during the blow, glottic closure or obstruction of mouthpiece by tongue or teeth, poor posture, leaning forwards. Equipment maintenance. How do you maintain your spirometers? Most spirometers need regular calibration to check accuracy. Calibration is normally performed with a 3-liter syringe. Some electronic spirometers do not require daily or weekly calibration. Good equipment, cleanliness, and anti-infection control are important. Check instruction manuals before you operate the spirometer. Spirometer should be regularly serviced. Check manufacturer's recommendation. This is unacceptable trace. Very poor effect. You can see the graph. If you get a kink, variable expiratory effort, so these are all slow start. If you get a graph like this is because of coughing. If it crosses like this, then it is because of extra breath, like that he might have taken. That's it. So that's about spirometers. I hope you followed well. Okay. Basically, you need to know here, Dr. Hina and Dr. Apurva. See how to distinguish correct, how to record correctly. How to record correctly, because if you are working on the spirogram as one of your investigations, then when you get a report, you will not be doing this. Please understand, a physiotherapist will not do spirogram. Spirogram will be recorded by the chest physician or a technician who cardiopulmonary technician. So when he sends you the report, you have to cross check. Now you have seen different graphs. So if you find such abnormal graphs, you have to repeat the test. Hello? Hello, Dr. Hina Apurva, am I audible? Hello? Freeze हो गया नेट गई क्या? हेलो? Hello, Dr. Hina.